There is a simpler and way more efficient way to get results. This takes around 10 minutes, in some cases even less time than that. Basically what we are trying to achieve is to start training at failure rather than doing a lot of reps and then at some point getting to the point where we are failing. To give you an example how people usually do any form of weightlifting, they are going to have a certain amount of weight that they already know they can lift for, let's say, 8 to 12 repetitions per set. And at the very end of the last repetition, they might get into the failure point. And this point where you're failing is the most crucial point in your training, basically, where the most muscle fibers will break and you force your body into some overdrive mode where it basically needs to be stronger than it currently is. And we are going to use the same exact method to go until failure, but we are going to start at that point. So basically, whenever we go into our workout, we are going to find an exercise that is so hard to do for our current power level that you cannot possibly do it without going into overdrive mode instantly the moment we are starting the training. Most likely you have already heard about the terms of pull day, push day, leg day. They are splitting their workouts all the time. We are doing a similar approach here where, for example, if we are going to have our pull day, let's say, that we're gonna go through pull-up motions. Basically what I'm doing is I go and try a one-armed pull-up, which is kind of impossible. I don't have the strength for that. And because I cannot do it with one arm, obviously I need to kind of assist myself by all means to just get my body up. So what I'm doing is assisting myself with the other arm and if needed with my legs too. So I'm trying as much as possible to force myself into overdrive mode from the moment I'm starting the exercise. So on pull days, I would go with the one-armed pull-up because that's, in my opinion, one of the hardest exercises that only really advanced and really strong people can do. And if for you, for example, the normal pull-up is already too hard, you can use the exact same method and just basically try to pull yourself up as hard as possible. And if you cannot do that, try to get your feet on the ground and push yourself up and then go through the negative motion. What we are trying to mimic here is our failure point that other people are doing with weightlifting, where they basically just increase the weight as much as needed for them to not be able to lift it up anymore. So if you can actually raise your body all the way to the top in the pull-up already, then the pull-up is not hard enough anymore. And now you would need to increase the volume. And you could do that possibly by just getting rid of one arm basically and just try it with one arm. It's gonna be a complete different story and you will instantly be training at failure. You can use the exact same method even if you cannot do a single pull-up. You could try start hanging from the bar. If that is already your failure point, that is perfectly fine. Then you could just hang there for, let's say, 10 seconds. And if you absolutely cannot anymore, you could assist yourself a little bit with your feet in the ground. And then at some point you will be absolutely destroyed and you will not be able to even hold yourself anymore with the feet in the ground because your arms are going to be so fatigued that you are basically way beyond your failure point. And that is exactly what we want to achieve. And then basically at that point, your pull-up workout will already be over and it should take you like less than 10 minutes. And you will have all of these crazy benefits of your body now going ahead and repairing all of your muscle tissues. And the next time you're going to do the same pull-up training, you will be so much stronger already. And it is kind of ridiculous how fast the progress actually is. Hi, my name is Dennis and I create honest, simple fitness content. So if you are also on your way to a healthier lifestyle, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And now let's get into the example of a typical push day. Normally what people do is bench presses and they're gonna just make like, again, this 8 to 12 repetitions. And at the very end, when they are reaching the last rep, they probably need someone assisting them to push the weight back up. And we are going to mimic the exact same thing again. If your maximum level of a push-up now would be one single normal push-up and you already are at your limit by going down and one more time back up, then you will need to assist yourself with the knees. And if you cannot even go up with the knees anymore, then basically your training is already over. But if your limit would be, let's say, a push-up on a ring, then you could use those rings to your advantage now. And then you basically do the same exact movement. You do the push-up, you go down as slow as possible. Then you try to push yourself up again. And in the moment this gets too hard, go back to your knees, do the exact same movement. If that gets too hard again, go with the regular push-up and repeat this step number 1 basically, and then do a regular push-up by going on your knees when you can't anymore. And we basically just repeat this and we do this like 2-3 times until failure. And in the moment you reach the absolute failure point where you couldn't possibly do a single push-up anymore, your workout is already done. And then again, this takes around 10 minutes, in some cases even less time than that, but you have the exact same crazy effects as as if you go and train with weight training all the way to the failure, because we are just switching it around. We are saving a lot of time here, guys. This is absolutely insane. And now let's get into another example, because we can continue this with all of the muscle groups basically. Imagine you are going to do some squats and you want to take the same method into action. Normally what people would do now is go and take some weights and do squats with the weighted vest or whatever they are using, and then they will do like 8 to 12 reps again and maybe 3 sets, and then at the very end they will not be able to go and do a single squat anymore, even if they wanted to. But that takes a lot of time again, and most likely they are not only going to do squats but other weighted exercises with machines or whatever they are using in the gyms most likely. And we are going to use the exact same method again, but we are going to do our squats only with one leg. Those ones are called pistol squats. And just by default already, I would say most people are not able to do a single pistol squat, including myself. They are really difficult. Not only you need to have the balance to actually do the pistol squat, but also you're putting your entire body weight on just a single leg, which is kind of impossible in my opinion. But that is exactly the point again. We are going to do the impossible here, to put as much weight and force on our one leg so that we are basically training from failure in the moment we are starting the training. And now you can use, for example, a door frame or chairs to assist yourself, and then you are going to do the pistol squat, and you are going to basically just try to force yourself going up without using your arm strength. And in the moment you absolutely cannot handle the weight on your leg anymore, you're going to slowly pull yourself back up with the assistance of your arms. And you need to do like 1 or 2 repetitions of this. I'm not gonna lie, the other day I did 4 reps in each legs and I was destroyed the next day, so that walking even was a problem. This took me around 5 to 10 minutes. So absolutely insane that you can have this amount of muscle ache and fatigue by just doing 4 reps, in my opinion. This is completely crazy, and it shows how effective this training method actually is. And let's talk about one of those muscle groups that everyone wants to train because it just looks super aesthetic if you have it, and if you are on a low enough body fat percentage to actually see it. Of course, I'm talking about our abs or the core. There's some exercises that you can do the exact same method with, and those ones are so difficult and they will burn your core so much that the next day you will most likely not be able to stand up from your bed anymore. For example, what you can do is the L-sit, where you are going to have your hands in the ground and you now try to get your feet off the ground by stabilizing your core. And this is a really hard exercise for most people. So if you are at the beginner level, then what you will do is basically repeating what we said before with all of the other exercises. You are going to find a spot where you can hold yourself in that position, but you are going to make it easier for yourself. Basically, you are assisting yourself with your legs, or maybe just with one leg, but you're trying to hold this position. And if you are having dip bars, for example, already, then you can also do something that is close to the L-sit, but where you have the knees a little bit more centered to your body, so that you don't have that much weight on your core. And you will just find your sweet spot again, where you have an exercise that is basically too difficult, and you are going on it as hard as possible in this really difficult stage where you technically cannot hold it. And once you cannot hold that movement anymore, you're just going to do some exercises that are similar to it, but a lot easier. And then you hold that new, easier exercise as long as you can. And again, once you fail the next exercise, you go a step lower until you absolutely cannot do any exercises anymore. And then again, your training would be done. And it should be a rough amount of 5 to 10 minutes, no matter which area of your body you are basically training. Another really cool movement is skin the cat, and also like a back lever or front lever progression, where you are basically pulling yourself up and you turn around. That movement is a lot of fun and really difficult for most people. And at the beginning, I was not able to pull myself up and I needed to find out my sweet spot. And it was pretty funny because I was just hanging around in the sky, but with my back facing towards the ground basically, and I tried to just have my legs above my body, and that already was way too difficult at the beginning. And a couple weeks later I was able to do my first rotation, and it was crazy to me that it only took a couple weeks to get from the stage of me not being able to actually pull myself up in the first place to do a full rotation and even hold myself for like half a second in the sky. And that was also the breaking point when I realized that I did such a huge progress with such a little time effort every single day. So the truth is, you don't need to do 90 minutes crazy workouts. If you are training effectively for just 10 minutes and you're showing up doing the most hardest and difficult exercises that you are not able to do at the moment, and you're training from failure from the very beginning. And also it is way easier to make training a habit now, because if it takes you only 5 to 10 minutes every single day, even on those days where you're unmotivated, those 5 to 10 minutes is something that you will still be able to implement. And in 1 to 2 months from now, when you're implementing this, you're gonna be so much stronger already, because that's how crazy effective is this training. Let me know in the comments below if you're ready to exercise like this and if you will give it a shot. And if you want to figure out what's the most effective cardio training that actually works next, go and watch this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I see you in the next one.